Hi, this is Scuff Dunk. I'm going to talk to you about the new Scuff Hybrid. I wanted to go through the features and the functions of the new Scuff Hybrid. If you look at the science behind gaming, then we believe there's four main elements to gaming. We call it Scuffology. There's the brain, there's the eye, there's a hand, and there's the controller. Now we know we can't control your eye, we know that we can't control your brain, but we can control your hand to an element by designing a controller that allows you to use more of it, and we can control also elements of the controller, again by better ergonomics, making something that's more pro-aligned. So looking at the back of the controller in individual components, we change the shape of the controller so you can use more of your hand, but you can actually grip it. If you look at the way I hold this controller here, I'm actually holding the controller with just two fingers and nothing else. We've actually re-engineered the shape so it comes down at a far more vertical angle, which allows your fingers to hit the paddles far easier. The reason we did this was because with a normal controller, like an Xbox controller, if I show you the handle shape, what it is your hands wrap around this perfectly when you're not using the paddles. But as soon as you use paddles, you're lifting these two fingers off, which means you're not engaging all of your hand. That's when it can slip out. With the new Scuff Hybrid, it doesn't do that. It locks your hands in place and you can still use these fingers here to actually hit the paddles. Also, on a normal controller, if you look at the function here under the top of the finger, this second knuckle of the second finger hits across this slight edge here when using the paddles. Again, not a problem when you're holding a normal controller, just using the front functions, but with paddles that puts an added piece of pressure onto this finger. So what we did is we flattened this edge off so it actually falls away and there's no pressure point on the second knuckle. So the combined shape functions of that allow your hand to hold much better. That's just the first thing. We then looked at other functions to include the paddle shape and the paddle ways that they actually they taper off the back of the controller. One of the things we noticed through the increased use of paddles was while they're perfectly formed and the paddle sits nicely on the back of a controller, it's also fair to say that not everybody uses the paddles in the same way. Some people hit the paddles consistently like this, they will never break. Millions of depressions are never going to break. But as soon as you start twisting the paddles and pulling them from the side, which a few, 2% of our players actually do, then what happens eventually, you cause a massive amount of strain up at the screw top, which causes the paddle to eventually break after excessive use. So what we went about doing with the new design was putting in what we call paddle channels or paddle canals, so that the paddle actually forms inside this canal. What that means is that even without it being screwed in, you can see this can't go anywhere. They're practically indestructible. You can move these off as well. You can have 2 or 4 paddles, lots of advantages in that. Some people were taking the adjustable hair triggers out by accidentally unscrewing it anti-clockwise instead of screwing it clockwise. With the new design, that'll never happen. If you look at the other features of the Scuff controller, one of the other things that we incorporated was a lithium battery. So we put a lithium battery underneath this, and the reason we did this was because we felt that the normal Xbox controller restricted your fingers when using paddles. It actually got stuck in here, you couldn't move them over here, and you certainly couldn't use 4 paddles like we could with the wired version. So what we've done is removed the battery pack, we've inserted a lithium battery which allows you to use 4 paddles, it allows you to rest your fingers here, and it allows just a much lighter, more controlled experience. There's a mini USB cable here so you can charge and play. We believe that there's well in excess of 35 hours of game usage when using this lithium battery. Final thing that we did, and this was something we actually developed way back in early 2012, was the remappable Scuff. It was something we always planned to do since day one, but we never actually implemented it until we had what we believe to be the perfect back to combine the Xbox familiarity with the Scuff advantages of paddle usage. So with the remappable, this is all one button touch. You just touch the remapper, touch the button you want it to be, and the paddle you want it to be. Remapped, 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 remapped. This is something you can do in gameplay. Again, same with the other paddle. Touch, front, remapped, remapped, remapped. The advantages this gives you is you can play any of your favourite games without having to mess around changing over the paddle configuration, sending it back to Scuff Gaming. So there's a bit about the Scuff controller. The only final thing I would like to talk about is the Scuff seal of approval. One of the things we spend a great deal of time doing is actually getting legally approved by all the big gaming leagues, MLG, EGL, WGL, ESL, Reflex, etc. Through the work we did with our Scuff controller, we made sure that the organisations were confident that our Scuff controller was legitimate, it was a non-cheat, no rapid fire, no macro functions, so people could use it in competition without it being tampered with. The importance of the Scuff seal of approval is it's a tamper-proof seal that if it hasn't got this, it's not valid for use in tournaments. Also, the Scuff logo that we've now inserted on the back reinforces that message. Apart from that, please go and look at the selection on the website. I hope this was informative. I'd like to also take this opportunity to say a big thank you to each and every one of you who's bought a Scuff. We tend to spend a lot of time making these, and we hope that you enjoy them as much as we do making them. In the meantime, go Scuff them up.